Well, I'm sure you've seen or heard by now, the old burnout didn't quite go as planned down there in Florida. So I want to kind of talk about what happened today and mansplain that. And then I need to look her over bumper to bumper, see what we got going on. I want to show you some upgrades that I want to do here pretty soon. And then I got a big project that I want to hopefully get done before May 1st, because there's going to be another Cleetus and Cars at Indianapolis, Indiana there. And I want to have that car ready and put on a nice show for you guys. So let's go ahead and dig in. I really need to get smarter, guys, and start wearing ear protection. It's a little bit much. Been meaning to do an update on the Chevelle here since the event, but obviously the engine is absolutely 100% healthy. It's running fantastic. Transmission's perfect. Harman builds these things that just take a ton of abuse. Even the 10 bolt held up fine. No issues. It's not making any noise or anything like that. What shut us down in the Florida burnout competition was one single 30 amp fuse, and that's it. And I'm going to show you in a second what that is, but this thing's a handful on the highway. As you can see, if you were watching the dash, it's about 1/2 to 3/4 throttle pulls, and it's just, it's hard to handle, honestly. So that's something I need to address. If you watch the burnout in person or on the pay-per-view, you can see in my tip-in, that's when you first come into the burnout box, you got to just hit those hard, you know, like the Aussies do. So I was third gear, just foot to the firewall. And during that entry, if you look close, I actually almost pulled the front tire off the ground coming through that 360. And that's because I don't have a sway bar in the front. So as I was trying to navigate my way around there, it's so tippy and sloshy and has so much body roll, it's really hard to handle. And it's the same on the highway here. It's just once it picks a direction, it's really hard to kind of get her to smooth out. So that's one of the upgrades I need to make right away before Indy, is I got to put a sway bar back on this thing. And there's a couple other things I want to show you and talk about that I need to change here quick. Got to clean on this still. Right there, that fuse under the ignition box, that's the one that popped. It's a 30 amp. And what that does is it controls the fuel pump relay to the fuel pump and the Holley ECU itself. So when that popped, no fuel pump, no Holley. It just was like I turned the key off, basically. Once we rolled it off the skid pad, it only took about 5 minutes to figure it out. We borrowed a fuse. I can't remember the guy's name, but thank you. Threw it back in, fired it right up. I actually went back in line to go back out again a second time, but Cleetus had Warbird already fired up, warming up, so I didn't want to mess up his schedule or anything like that. But that was basically all that happened, was just a fuse. So we're going to look into it a little bit more, why it happened. I just grabbed a random fuse out of the toolbox. I have no idea how old it was or where it came from. That was probably the culprit. I know. I remember myself saying earlier that we don't need no sway bar where we're going, but man, do we. Found this whole kit on Summit, and it comes with all the bushings and bolts and clamps and whatchamacallits and doodads. So I'm going to throw this on quick, and hopefully that'll stiffen up. Well, I know it will, and that's going to help tremendously in the front. And I did order a new grill for this right before I left, but it didn't show up in time. So I threw in the old one, and I kind of fell in love with this old smashed up one again. But let me show you the new one I got, and you guys can let me know what you think. So this one is all black, and I just thought with the hood open for sure that this would tie everything in nice in the front. But now I'm not sure. What do we do? Do we stick this black one in here like that, or do we leave the crunched up one in here? This one's got the deluxe trim on it. I do have a new Chevrolet badge, and it was back ordered. It took a while, but I got a 454 badge over here too. Those are kind of hard to get, actually. So you guys bleep bloop it down there in the comments. Let me know what you think. Leave the old one or go black. I don't know. So in that burnout, we only made it about 45 seconds, give or take. And the goal for anyone trying to save their motor and reuse it is about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. That's about average time for wanting to reuse your engine throughout competitions. So you can kind of tell guys that are full send, planning on blowing it up and not, just by how long they're out there. But for that short period of time, 45 seconds, I was already at 200 degrees. So I would have had to shut it down in 30, 35 seconds anyway due to temp, because I did the old math on her, and we'd probably be 230, somewhere around there. That's about all I want to push it. And we're already running through the tuning process. We figured out that we need to run the C16 in my mixture. And this stuff here is about 90 bucks a pail, depending on where you get it. So, I mean, we're talking 100 to 150 bucks per event just in fuel not including tires. So that's going to add up really, really quick, because I plan on having this car for a long time and doing a lot of events with it. So something that we did is we called Holley and had a long discussion, and something we can do to not only bring the engine temperature down 10 to 15 degrees, we can get higher octane fuel and save a ton of money on fuel, is convert this to E85. So here's the big dog we're going to be stepping up to here. You can see the intake is a much different design versus that dual plane. It is a lot taller. You probably noticed that right away. So we're going to have a big hole in here, and I might have to do just a screw on kind of cowl induction kind of thing. Probably use pop rivets, tie in everything else, and then try to match the blue. This isn't really working. You can see it's hitting the hat quite a bit, and this is twisting and turning. Big advantage here again, we're going to have multi-port injection. We're going to be able to pick our injectors. Holley has a huge list of different injectors, and we're going to be running the Avenger EFI ECU. This is like the Dominator's little brother, basically. We're going to have drastically more tuning capabilities with this, and then we're going to put this big 1000 CFM throttle body on top there. And this is a whole kit, so you get the wiring harness, all of that stuff with it, basically just like the Sniper. I'm going to save money in the long run, because that fuel is going to add up really fast, and we're going to exceed the cost of this kit very, very quickly. So we'll be able to keep the engine a lot cooler, be in the burnout pit a lot longer, have some cheaper fuel, and then I'm excited to be able to see as far as tuning capabilities. This also has that same 3.5 inch touchscreen, beep boop boop pop beep, but just a different label on it. Basically, I've got a lot of work to do. Basically, I want to remove quite a bit of what's here, and then we're going to be rewiring, because the ECU is actually going to go in the cab now on the drinker side, floorboard or up in the dash somewhere in there. And I got to paint this up a little bit, and it's going to be quite a bit of work. So I'm going to get this thing rolled back into the shop here pretty soon and start digging into this. I have, I think, around 2 weeks, something like that, to get all of this done and buttoned back up. And believe you me, we're going to be putting on one heck of a show in Indianapolis. I hope you guys can come down and watch that one. Let's take a look at the rest of the car, see if we got anything else falling off. I did notice this right away. This body panel is really starting to separate. It was really shaking out there. And even with the air shocks, those springs are so worn out, we're rubbing into the tire here. So those rear springs are going to have to be changed at some point. But everything held up back here. None of the trailing arms or wishbones bent, anything like that. So that's great news. I should check really quick the frame patch. That one's fine. Don't see any issue there. Let's go around to the other side. See, this popped out as well. Not quite sure what happened there. Oh, this tire is rubbing really bad. That's what's going on there. Tire gets into the fender probably on acceleration, and it's crunching that up pretty good. Might have a leak in those air shocks. I'm gonna check that. Nope, I won't do that either. How's this patch? What was that? Oh, I needed that. Think we're good. Think we're good. Guy also snagged up a trunk latch and a key assembly, but I forgot that I took this hoopy, you know, clamper downer bar, and I can't find where I put it, so now I gotta find one of those. But it'd be nice to get that bolted in, because right now this is all that's holding it down, and the trunk's doing this when I'm out there flopping around. So I gotta get that fixed. And up here, I almost forgot, I gotta switch out the charging whirler. That's a 63 amp. I need to put in a probably like 100 or 9500, somewhere around there. Need a little bit more charge relation on this thing. Show you guys these gauges. I just didn't have time to show you the install. Last couple days there were 15-17 hour days just thrashing. These are new vintage USA gauges. Really nice kit, and they super easy to install actually. All of these just plug into the big ones, and then you power up the cluster, and basically these must have tiny little computer beep bops in them. And that's pretty much it. And they glow red at night, which is pretty cool. I got to finish the installation on these. Right now I just have basically these 4 little ones going. Speedometer is working, but I need to calibrate it. Basically you drive a mile and punch the button, and also has an auto learn, I think. And I have the RPM unhooked right now, but I'm going to get that hooked back up here shortly. But other than that, I mean, it's not leaking a drop of oil. No major mechanical issues whatsoever. So I'm actually really pleased with it. I mean, for thrashing this thing together there, that last week was super hectic. I had 0 shakedown time. I mean, we rolled it on the trailer, rolled it off. I met a bunch of you folks right there before the competition and just went full send. So if all that happened was a fuse, I'm more than happy with that. Independent Chevelle update. She's alive, kicking, ready to rock. We're going to be putting on a show here in a couple weeks. Thanks guys for watching. Appreciate it very much. We'll see you next time.